Look in the mirror. I mean it. Really picture yourself right now. Now ask yourself a truly terrifying question. How much of who you are was actually chosen by you? And how much of it is just a performance you've spent years perfecting just so people will like you? Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to completely tear down the illusion of modern identity.
We're looking at the true cost of fitting in. You know, modern life relentlessly rewards a good performance. Literally from day one, we're conditioned to optimize ourselves for approval. But because of this, millions of us are waking up in the middle of this quiet, unspoken identity crisis. We're out there succeeding at all these goals that, well, they don't even belong to us in the first place.
So, let's dive into part 1, the performance of identity and how we optimize for approval.
Here's the thing about identity. It isn't always something you just organically discover. So often, it's a carefully constructed mask. We make this massive trade-off, right? We trade knowing ourselves for being liked by absolutely everyone. We convince ourselves that universal approval makes us safe, but the inner emptiness that inevitably follows, it's absolutely suffocating.
Because the real danger here isn't just having multiple roles. It's forgetting which role is actually real. When you're constantly playing the chameleon, changing your personality depending on the room you're in, saying yes when your entire body is screaming no, that highly edited, fake version of you eventually starts feeling more familiar than the truth.
And then, of course, you add social media into the mix, and the pressure just explodes. Identity turns into this endless, exhausting, competitive project. The self becomes a curated brand to be managed. Every single day, we're exposed to thousands of highlight reels, and we end up living and dying by external metrics like views and follows, while completely abandoning our own internal values.
Which brings us to the next piece of the puzzle. The biology of belonging as a survival strategy.
Now, before you go judging yourself too harshly, let's look at the science for a second. Adaptation is basically adjusting yourself to fit social expectations. And historically, this was a vital survival mechanism. Think about it. Back in ancient times, rejection from the tribe meant isolation, and isolation meant certain danger, even death. So we are quite literally hardwired by evolution to seek out the crowd.
But here is where it goes off the rails. The challenge really begins when belonging requires self-abandonment. That right there is the breaking point. It's the exact moment a healthy survival mechanism mutates into a highly toxic habit. We end up sacrificing our most authentic values just to keep our seat at the table.
Let's move on to explore the hidden cost of constantly editing the self.
You see, every single workplace, every family, every friend group has these unspoken rules. We learn incredibly fast which opinions get cheered on and which ones get weird looks. And a lot of times, we trick ourselves into thinking that people-pleasing is just being kind. But it's really not. Psychologically speaking, what looks like kindness is actually 40% fear of conflict and 30% rejection anxiety. The rest is driven by the fear of criticism and abandonment. It's not kindness, it's a psychological shield.
And the emotional toll of carrying that shield? It's devastating. We're talking about deep emotional exhaustion, a profound lack of meaning in your day-to-day life, chronic dissatisfaction, and intense identity confusion. You could be doing everything perfectly right on paper, checking all the boxes of success, and still end up feeling like an observer or a ghost in your own life.
It reminds me of this powerful thought. The greatest risk isn't being rejected by other people, it's spending your life rejecting yourself. Just let that sink in for a moment. Chasing after applause means you are actively abandoning your own inner truth every single day.
This leads perfectly into our next section, validation versus self-worth, and making the internal shift.
So, if building an identity on the applause of others always leaves us feeling hollow, how do we actually fix it? Well, we have to completely shift the foundation. Look, validation is temporary. It's external. It vanishes the absolute second the crowd decides to change its mind. But self-worth, that is stable. That's internal. True, unshakable confidence only emerges when you remain fiercely connected to your core values, completely independent of whether anyone is clapping for you or not.
But hey, let's be totally honest with each other here. Authenticity is often frightening. I mean, it is terrifying. Why? Because being your true, unfiltered self means you are risking the very belonging you crave so deeply. It means choosing to stand apart. It means you might actually disappoint the people who fell in love with the fake, edited version of you. That brings us to our final section, returning to yourself by removing what is false. Reclaiming who you really are isn't about inventing some new, highly optimized personality. Not at all.
It's a path to inner alignment that requires cultivating raw self-awareness. It takes brutally honest reflection. It demands serious emotional courage. And, ultimately, it's about accepting your own imperfection. These steps are what actually strip away the false masks. Now, they don't guarantee universal acceptance from the world, but they absolutely guarantee inner alignment. So it's time for a bit of a self-interrogation. I want you to ask yourself, which parts of my identity were actually chosen? Seriously, think about your career path, your style, your deeply held beliefs. Did you intentionally choose them, or were they just inherited from your family, your peers, or society's expectations?
And what would you pursue right now if absolutely nobody judged you? Try to imagine a life completely free from the fear of rejection. What heavy, exhausting expectations are you dragging around today that don't even belong to you?
Ask yourself, where am I performing rather than living? Try to identify those specific areas of your life. Maybe it's at work, maybe it's in your closest relationships, where you are just reading off a script. Where are you just acting out a role instead of existing authentically?
There's a profound realization here. Most people spend years trying to become someone the world will accept. Very few spend time discovering who they are beneath all the expectations. And honestly, it is an absolute tragedy to spend your entire life optimizing for acceptance while completely missing out on your own journey of self-discovery.
The greatest transformation you can make isn't about becoming more impressive. It's about becoming more genuine. Because sometimes the person you're searching for isn't some distant future version of yourself that you need to become.
It's someone you forgot how to be. The real you is already in there. So stop performing. Start remembering. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, go out there and meet your true self.